What's going on? It's your boy DameSmiff, and today or this evening, I'm going to talk with you guys a little bit about a concept I'm thinking about called standing still for success. And essentially, all it really surrounds is the idea that being disciplined, being focused, and being very, very in tune with yourself is going to be very key to getting the results you want when it comes to either your music career or just life in general. And this is just a kind of a belief I have based on my experiences, and I'll kind of go through some of my experiences that got me to this mindset. And so, if you enjoy things like this, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'll be here hanging with you guys just for a little bit. We'll see how long this goes. I'm not too sure. But basically, so where does this come from? This comes from when I was first like learning basic characteristics for growing up, as a young man. Like I started out in martial arts, but usually throughout school, you kind of see a consistency in what the adults are teaching you, right? And one of the things was be quiet, sit down, be still, right? And when you're young, it's hard to really control that and understand that because you have, a nature to kind of explore and learn things and things like that. But if you actually take the time to apply what they're saying for a moment, and that was the difference between me and a lot of other students, there was a small group of students that were willing to actually apply this. But if you actually apply quiet, be still, and don't move and don't, think, but just sit for a second and just focus. When you actually apply that, you get to see exactly what they're talking about. Like you almost can't write it down in a book. So I'm actually trying to say this in a way that can be um, explained in a simple way, but I'm sure there's like books and studies and things like that that'll explain what I'm talking about. But basically this. So if you're in a classroom or if you're in a group setting or a group project or you're working on things with a bunch of people, right? You need one person to be able to observe and maybe critique or audit or judge the result that's going on. And this is important so that you know what's going on, right? Now, in a group, that makes sense to put that upon one person, right? Place that authority or that accountability on one person. But in life, in reality, it's really you against yourself, right? And so when we think about working in a group as, let's say, a musician, what that would look like is you practicing your instrument, maybe, or, memorizing the set list or making sure you're on time. The little things you can do as an individual that make you useful or beneficial to the group as a whole, right? And so it's hard to notice these things and understand these things without actually taking a moment to just sit still and pay attention to what's happening, right? And this happens a lot when I look at artists that tend to create a lot or tend to engage with and interact with their fans way more than they actually produce an actual product. And the problem that they tend to run into is they don't really see any flaws in their process or any improvements that can be made simply because there's more focus on the action than the intention of the action. And that's again hard to notice if you don't stop and think and focus on what you're doing, right? And another example of me actually learning this was in martial arts where they explain just standing at attention, right? And so for me it was taekwondo, but I'm sure it's similar in most combat sports, most group sports settings. I have another example that's similar, but basically we would stand in a line in our formation and we would just have to sit still and just focus. And our sensei, instructor, or teacher, he would try to find ways to distract us and to make us lose focus. So like we would have to pick a spot on the wall in front of us and essentially just focus on it. You can blink or whatever. If you have to scratch your head or whatever, that was fine. But the key thing was you wanted to sit still. You didn't want to have to get distracted and wander off and look at a butterfly and things like that. He gave a million examples that could distract you. And it wasn't until like I said earlier, that I applied what he was saying in real time did I actually see it. And so what he then started doing was, and this was a martial arts teacher, and what he then started doing, he would do slow movements around your face and your head, or maybe like from behind and things like that, and over your shoulder to kind of get you to flinch and like move like that, right? And so once he's doing that, and now he's asking us questions about, you know, different moves or the history of Taekwondo, and there's a lot of things going on. And again, we're supposed to just sit still and just focus. And you started to really see what worked on people, what worked on different people, what worked on yourself, what worked, in general for everybody. Like you, it was just something that you had to be a Superman in order to not be distracted. And that brought clarity to what made sense to focus on in terms of actions, in terms of what moves we needed to really focus on in the actual combat scenario. And so another example would be when I was in college, there was marching band, well, high school and college really, but like marching band situations where in marching band you have to stand at attention. And very, very, very simple tasks like just stand at attention is something that a lot of people can't do, because there were situations where you would have to stand at attention for maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, maybe longer, in a long, long time. And again, it's until you apply it do you really see the benefits of it, because in our college, we would record our performances, and in general, we would kind of like critique what we would look like and review the footage or maybe take pictures and things like that. And when you would see a photo of a marching band, any marching band, I dare you to go look at any of them. If you see a photo of a marching band, you see a sea of musicians standing in a perfect formation, and one guy is out of formation because he's just distracted. It makes the entire thing look hideous. It's what my band director called throwing green paint all over the whole statue. Like you just ruined everything. And so the key thing to remember is that it's an individual thing. Like that one person who's sticking out from the photo or the video doesn't really know it, or they're not really aware of it, and they don't have to be in that position. And so when you think about that as well, that's where you want to actually apply this, because there may be something you're missing simply because you're just moving, you're simply doing and trying to figure out what's going on. You're not really trying to sit still, think and audit, or just worry about yourself and really compartmentalize the improvements you need to do. And so again, I think for most musicians it's going to come through the sense of like listening to yourself. Sometimes, a lot of times, it takes writing your thoughts down, like actually sitting for a second and going, okay, this is what I actually mean, and this is what I get from the music I'm making, or the sound I'm creating, or the people I work with. This is actually the thing that I'm trying to get, and in order to do that, this is the steps I need to take, right? And that's kind of hard for people. And so I guess in order to simplify this whole thing in a nutshell, right? Sitting still for success. You want to be able to find out what works through observation and application. Meaning you want to be able to see what works. Like you want to be able to see people doing what you want to do, or got the results that you want, or you want to be able to understand a lot of the things that it takes to get the things that you want, and then do it. And then you just got to keep doing it nonstop. That's key. Now, when do you know to take a step back and things like that? Usually people can tell this when you run into like stagnation or something like that, or you're just not getting the results you want. You try to like figure out what's working and what's not, but it's a lot simpler than people try to make it out to be, because again, the task of just sitting still is very simple. It's all the crap that can easily distract you that throws you off from it. So if this is helpful, let me know in the comments, and make sure you like and subscribe. I'll be making more videos like this, and be sure to let me know what you think of this whole series that we're doing here, Late Night at Dames. I'll be making more like this, and I'll be out, y'all. Peace.